You know, Hudson really epitomizes what is at the core and at the heart of our Alveus anti-bullying program. And I know a lot of you are going to know who I'm talking about, but there's a famous talk show host who ends every show by saying, "Be kind to one another." Who's that host?
Ellen.
Yep. And truly, like, that spirit that Ellen exudes is so similar to Hudson. You just exude kindness and inclusivity and that desire to be a better person. So thank you so much for sharing your story. I want to let all the students know that as the day goes on, you'll all be coming back for grade level assemblies with Hudson, where you're going to be able to do Q&A, and you can find out who's like the favorite athlete he ever met and some other stories. The other thing is, I just want to throw it out to you as a school. At any point today, and you can just raise your hand, if at any point today during the assembly you felt a little squirmy or a little uncomfortable. Because one of the things that I always tell to my Seedlings students, and I have some representatives here from the Seedlings class, is some of the best learning that we do in life is when we're feeling a little uncomfortable. And I always say to them, you might not always feel comfortable, but you'll always be safe. And I think that's an important thing for us to think about when we talk about those obias and all of those isms that Hudson talked about today. So, every other day, period 7 in room 102, we close the door, and for 40 minutes, we just get to talk. We talk about what's in the news, we talk about what's going on in the world, we talk about what's going on in our lives and what's going on in our hearts. And what you see up on the screen is this year's 8th grade Seedlings class, which is heading up a No Place for Hate committee. Over 60 schools on Long Island already have received this prestigious designation from the Anti-Defamation League. And with the focus that Jericho places on celebrating diversity and working towards creating more inclusive curriculum and school climate, this seemed like a great goal for us to work towards. I would like to introduce Aaliyah, who is a new 8th grader to Jericho, to share her reflections on the first month of this class. And then some other students will talk about the ADL, the No Place for Hate campaign, and how you all can help us meet a goal this year. So Aaliyah, come on up.
The SEED program, which the Seedlings Elective is based on, stands for Seeking Educational Equity and Diversity. When I first saw Seedlings on my schedule, I didn't know what it was, so I thought about changing it. However, I'm so glad I didn't. Seedlings has become one of my favorite classes in Jericho. In Seedlings, we learn how to express ourselves to our peers. It is a place where you can speak openly and share your opinions without feeling judged. We learn about issues surrounding oppression and discrimination based on race, sexual orientation, gender, nationality, religion, and more. And we learn how to be more open-minded towards others and how to be better allies. In the first couple of classes, we presented our news stories. What started as a simple assignment where we decorated cards with our names and nicknames turned into a multi-period exploration of ourselves and our peers in the class. Through this experience, we learned so much more than just each other's names. We learned about each other's families, religions, nationalities, like and dislikes, and more. Since I'm new to Jericho, this is a big help. In Seedlings, I also get the opportunity to develop my leadership skills through events such as helping to plan National Coming Out Day and speaking here to you today. I'm really excited to see what is next to come and being a part of this class, and I would like to thank Mrs. Waters because there wouldn't be a Seedlings class without her.
I didn't tell her to say that last part. Thank you, Aaliyah, and welcome to Jericho. Aaliyah brings so much creativity and spirit to this school, and it's hard to believe that a month ago you were new and you are now standing up here in front of our entire community. I'd like to now introduce Sophie, who's going to give us a brief introduction of what the ADL is.
The ADL, or the Anti-Defamation League, is an organization that started the No Place for Hate campaign. This organization combats religious intolerance and discrimination based on stereotypes. In the world that we live in, hate is a major issue, and we must do something to prevent it. Thanks to organizations such as the ADL, There's more awareness surrounding issues of hate and discrimination, but there is still more work to be done. We, the Seedlings class, invite everyone at Jericho Middle School to be the best upstanders they can be, regardless of your race, religion, size, nationality, gender, or sexual orientation. We should always spread love and not hate.
I do have the best students ever. Thank you, Sophie. That was amazing. So, you've heard the term "no place for hate" a number of times, and now we have Zara, who's another new student to Jericho, who's going to talk to us about what this campaign is about and how actually most of you in this room have already been an integral part of it without maybe knowing that.
With more and more public displays of hate on the rise, it is now more important than ever for schools to help create programs that clearly define the various expectations of behavior from students, staff, and members of school communities. Whether you are a student, a teacher, or family member, you all have a role to play in fighting against bias and bullying. Together, we can work together as a team to help fight the rise of hate. The No Place for Hate campaign is a program which helps students take the lead on improving and maintaining the environment at school so all students can thrive. In order to become a No Place for Hate school, there are various steps that we need to go through as a school, starting with doing a needs assessment of our school, forming a No Place for Hate committee, signing a school-wide resolution of respect, and organising and implementing 3 school-wide anti-bias and bullying prevention activities. The first activity that we organised this year was in conjunction with our middle school GSA for National Coming Out Day. This was the feedback we received from the ADL on our first event. The Seedlings class sorted through your hundreds of I'm Coming Out for and against posters, and we will base our next school-wide activity on topics that we pulled from your voices of activism. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zara. So when we typed up our script and then I gave it back to the students to just make sure that it was all okay, the only critique that Zara had was the spelling, because I made it English spelling and not British spelling. So I did have to change a few words back to British spelling. So thank you so much. So Zara mentioned this resolution of respect. But what we need to talk about, and this is what the ADL, so those I'm Coming Out for, I'm Coming Out Against posters that you created, our Seedlings class went through and actually wrote down every idea that you shared. What were the things that your inner activists wanted us to hear? And from those posters, we're going to create our next No Place for Hate school-wide activity. So your voices are so integral to the work that the Seedlings class is doing. But when we look at this resolution of respect, and this is what we're asking us as a school community to look at today and then to promise to try to uphold, I was having a little trouble understanding what does this look like here. So Ava and Renuka are going to help me out. So the first resolution says, I will seek to gain an understanding of those who are different from myself. But how do we do that here at Jericho, Ava?
There are so many opportunities to learn about others here at Jericho, from conversations in classes and clubs to guest speakers at events, such as last week's National Coming Out Day panel, where we got to hear others' life experiences, and the week before when we listened to Mr. Halligan's tragic story about his son Ryan.
Number 2 says, I will speak out against prejudice and discrimination. Renuka, what does that look like here at Jericho?
Just look around the hallways here in the middle school. Hundreds of posters tell us what's on your minds. You came out for everything from women's rights, health care for all, to coming out against animal abuse and sexual harassment.
Number 3 says, I will reach out to support those who are targets of hate. Ava, what does that mean?
Here at Jericho Middle School, we have learned that it is important to show support for a student who is being bullied. This can happen by sitting with them in the cafeteria or inviting them to join you at a club. And it's always important to reach out to an adult in the community if you have a concern about someone being targeted by a bully. For the 6th graders here, I know if it can be hard to trust new adults you've just met, but trust me, the teachers here are pretty cool.
Thanks, Ava. Number 4 says, I will promote respect for people and help foster a prejudice-free school.
That's what Diversity Day is all about, taking pride in and celebrating who we are and learning about one another through song, dance, and storytelling.
And don't forget the food. There's always that awesome feast in the cafeteria after the show.
Number 5 says, I believe that one person can make a difference. No person can be an innocent bystander when it comes to opposing hate.
I got this one. It's like in New York City when they say, if you see something, say something. Here in Jericho Middle School, if you feel that someone is being bullied or is being a bully, it's not enough to just stand by and watch. Being an upstander is not only expected, but respected.
And number 6 says, I recognize that respecting individual dignity and promoting intergroup harmony are the responsibilities of all students. This is the point where we are inviting all of you to join us in a verbal pledge for the resolution of respect. I would like to invite Sophie back up to lead us through this pledge, and this will mark us officially taking on the challenge of combating hate and bullying as a school community.
So, Sophie, just 1 second. So the bell might actually ring. I'm looking at the time in just a minute. So why don't we wait and do it after the bell rings, because the pledge takes a couple of seconds. It's going to take. So one of the things that Ms. Waters is going to do while we recite the pledge, she's going to videotape us, because this will become part of our eligibility to be a No Place for Hate school. You know, Alyssa, last year I spoke to my colleague at Westbury Middle School, and they took pictures of themselves holding the banner. It was really something they could be so proud of. And why I was... Sorry, no. So, because this is a great event and activity for us to correspond with our bully prevention efforts. Sophie, are you ready?
Yes.
So what do you need the audience to do?
I need you all to rise and repeat after me.
Okay, everyone stand up. So we are all going to repeat after Sophie. Sophie, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. Are you guys ready? I promise to abide by and uphold the No Place for Hate resolution of respect from this day forward. I commit to making my school no place for hate. Because in Jericho Middle School there is no place for hate. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to officially observe phase 1 of our bully prevention kickoff. I say the first part, you say the second part. At Jericho Middle School, we don't stand by.
We stand up!
That's awesome. All right, I'm going to dismiss you by 7th grade first.